And now, on behalf of Menlo College, I have the very great pleasure to introduce Mar Hershenson as our 2018 Commencement Speaker. Mar is a co-founder and managing partner at Pear VC, an early-stage investor fund, and in everything she does, she exemplifies the creativity and can-do business spirit of Menlo students. After she obtained her doctorate from Stanford, Mar spent the next 13 years co-founding 3 companies. She developed a groundbreaking technique for optimizing the design of analog semiconductors and ultimately registered 14 separate patents. She's been recognized repeatedly for her talents as an innovator, including citations by MIT Technology Review as a top innovator under 35, and by EE Times in its listing of the top 10 women in microelectronics. Mar is also fit for Menlo in one other important aspect, her passion for soccer. More than 20 years after emigrating to the US from Spain, Mar says she enjoys few things more than watching Barcelona prevail in a close match with Real Madrid. Of course, she has yet to see Menlo's teams play, but that's still to come. While her accomplishments are momentous, there's another fact about Mar Hershenson that underscores her singularity. One of her characteristics is vastly underrepresented in the rarefied world of venture capitalists, and it's not that she's a soccer fan or even that she's a speaker at a Menlo College commencement. It turns out that venture capital firms are still one of those places where women struggle to break through the glass ceiling. 2 weeks ago, the New York Times published something they called the Glass Ceiling Index, in which they counted women and men in important roles in American life. They reported women are least represented among CEOs and among directors of top-grossing films, and coming in a close third for the field in which women are least represented, venture capitalists. Women comprise 9% of VC investors, and by coincidence, 9% of VC investors are also named either David, James, or Peter. Fun fact, take it with you. That's all by way of saying we have a rare breed with us today. She's neither a David, nor a James, nor a Peter, but she's one of the 9% who's blazing a path that many of you someday may follow, women as well as men. That context makes it all the more exciting to have not a David, not a James, not a Peter, but a Mar here today as our commencement speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Mar Hershenson.
Well, it's just this. Thank you very much for your introduction, President Weiner. And thank you for those wonderful speeches, Brittany, Joseph, and Jax. Those were awesome and a really tough act to follow. So now I'm extra nervous, I would say. I want to thank you, the faculty, the staff, the trustees, and the students for welcoming me to your beautiful campus. I'm actually so humbled and honored to be here today as your commencement speaker. And I want to start by congratulating all the parents here, since I'm a parent. And just what an amazing feeling to see your kids graduate. You must be just so proud. Congratulations to you. And of course, let me congratulate all of the graduates here today. You are the true stars today. Congratulations, class of 2018. Now, I know I'm the only thing that stands between you and those diplomas. So I am going to keep this talk under 13 minutes. I've timed myself. All right. Now, I have to tell you that writing this commencement speech was actually very hard. And in many ways, it felt like when I had to pack my entire life into one suitcase, the one suitcase that I was allowed to bring to America when I immigrated here. I couldn't fit everything in one suitcase. So I had to carefully choose what was really precious to me. And that's what I did today. I kind of packed my life into 3 key learnings and 1 great investment tip, which I'm living for the end. My first piece of advice is to believe in yourself. I'm going to tell you a story. When I was a little girl, maybe 5 or 6, back in Spain, I was already a pretty geeky, nerdy, somewhat strange kid. And I loved being in long cart rides with my family. But it was not because we were going to exotic places or we had a chance to sing fun songs. No. It actually was because I could do math with all the numbers on the road. I would add numbers on license plates and try to divide them by 4, by 11, by 13, and I would be ecstatic to find license plates with multiple factors. Needless to say, everyone else in the car, my parents, my grandparents, and my sister, they thought I was a really, really strange kid. And in school, it was no better. I always managed to escape from whatever was going on, hide in a corner, and play with numbers, fascinated with arithmetic puzzles and infinity. So it was bad all around, and it got really worse. In the 2nd grade, my own teachers gave me a nickname, Pythagorean, which translates into English like Little Pythagoras. So there I was, at 7 years old. My teachers, my friends, they knew who I was. I was the math kid. Mar was excellent at numbers, but she was not good at anything else. Art, no talent. Sports, clumsy. Cooking, dangerous. Dress up, hopeless. So for many, many years, I let that math label define me. I would sit on the benches watching my friends play soccer, not daring to join them. I failed 3rd grade art class. My parents had to actually come meet the teacher to figure out how I was going to make it through the class. And I didn't even try any non-academic things. Why? Because I thought I couldn't do them. And then something magical happened. I came to America in 1995. Just me, no family, no friends, no 2nd grade teacher. Nobody here knew me, and I somehow felt the freedom to try all the things that I was terrible at. I peeled off all the labels, and the more labels I peeled off, the freer I felt to try new things. So I turned into a prolific quilter, making quilts for my friends, often when they have kids or they get married, but sometimes just because it feels so good to be creative. I became a runner. I ran half marathons, and for a few years, I was placed in the top 10 or top 5 finishers for my age in various 10K races. I took dancing classes, which was actually useful at my wedding. And this trying of new things turned into somewhat of an obsession that has defined the rest of my life. I am constantly on the quest for the new. I've changed career twice, from a chip designer to a software engineer into a venture capitalist. And I'm not done with changes. My husband is scared of my long list for retirement. But that's what's beautiful about life. It's just so full of possibilities. And the possibilities are completely under our control. So to everyone here, but especially to the women and the minorities, don't let the labels or other people's prejudices and biases determine what you can or cannot do. Don't let anybody tell you what you can or cannot try. Don't let your past limit your future. And whatever you do, do not wait until tomorrow. As my graduate school office mate used to say, the best way to finish is to start. So get out there and start today on your biggest, most impossible dream. Now that brings me to point 2. Since I just told you to go out there and try new things, you're gonna encounter failure. And my biggest failure came fast, my first job after college. After my graduation, I started a company called Barcelona Design, based on my research. Up to that point, I had done really well. Just by about any standard, I was a straight-A student. I had finished my PhD and master's at Stanford in a record 4 years. I thought I was pretty much invincible and that I could do anything. And it started well enough. We hired a number of the smartest PhD students in my class. I raised $40 million in funding. We built what was possibly the most sophisticated circuit design software at the time, and we had paying customers across the world. There was a lot of press about the company, and I even became some sort of a mini celebrity. And we were growing so much that the board decided to hire a CEO. It turned out that the CEO and I couldn't figure out how to work together. And eventually I had to leave the company. This is the company I had started. My research, my work. It was a big blow. I felt like my whole identity had been stolen from me. And it was just not emotionally painful. It was physically painful. And maybe some of you understand that. I spent a couple of months inside my head replaying every possible scenario, what I could have done, what I should have done, how could I have made it turn out differently. Luckily, I was able to hit reset. I thought logically, how about I take what I learned, listen to all this negative feedback that I just want to go away and turn it for the better. I realized that I could still create products, but now I knew how companies worked, so I should try again. I partnered with my former classmate, Dave Colleran, and we started a second company called Savio Labs. Now, expectations were pretty low at this point. I was not a flashy, recent PhD graduate, but a failed founder who was hard to work with. It felt impossible for us to raise money, to hire people, and even to get customers to talk to us. There was so much rejection every single day. But eventually, we found a true angel investor, my partner, Pejman Nozad, who's actually here today. And we made some great hires, and customers started using our product. There was a lot of hard work with little money, long hours, and countless faraway trips to visit customers. But eventually, we built a thriving business, and we successfully sold it to a public company. It turns out that it was good to have failed so big that the only answer I had was to try again. I am so grateful that I did not give up. Today, I sit on the other side of the table as a venture capitalist. I'm often surrounded by moments of failure, founders that cannot raise money, companies that shut down, companies that cannot make payroll, customers that cancel contracts. And despite this, I'm also a close witness to many founders' success stories, stories of overcoming failure despite dismal odds. It is by far the best part of my job, seeing people persist, people who have worked really hard overcome a near-death situation. The companies that make it are not the best companies, but those companies whose founders refuse to give up. So remember, we all fail. You will fail, and it will be painful. It will be agony. And when that happens, you look at failure directly in the eyes and say, I will beat you. You're just this live test I have to get through. And this brings me to my third point, which is about character. Let me tell you about my life today. On average, on a typical day, I will listen to 3 new pitches. If you do the math, that translates into 750 new meetings a year. Out of all those companies, I will invest in maybe 5. So people ask me all the time, how do you pick? What's the key to raising money? There are many things that matter. But in that very first meeting, I'm only checking for one thing, the character of the founder and the CEO. Even in a 30-minute meeting, I can learn a lot about that CEO's character. For example, I learn from their interactions with their team in the room. Do they let others in the team speak up? Do they correct them? Do they finish their sentences? Do they recognize their efforts? I learn how they talk about their career experience. Do they say good things about their previous employers, previous bosses, and previous colleagues? Or are they negative? Do they take responsibility for their failures, or do they blame it on others? And I learn how they think about the future. What type of company culture do they want to build? What are their values? These things matter. We know that the character of the CEO will ultimately determine their ability to lead a company, to stay calm in moments of distress, and to build and retain a team. And it is the same with all of us. Our character is not only the greatest indicator of our external success, but it is more importantly the true source of our own internal happiness. Being generous to others, putting others first, and being empathetic are not easy, but they are the great investments in life. They require some practice, but luckily there is something easy we can all do. which is to practice small acts of kindness every single day. Or if you're ambitious, like me, I encourage you to take my 1-month challenge. So you can go out there today and buy 30 printed thank you cards. And for a month, send a thank you card to a different person every day. Then you just wait, and you will be surprised. And now I'm coming to my great investment tip, which is that every day from now on, you need to do one thing, and that is to invest in yourself. A few years ago, we took a group of students to have a small chat with Drew Houston, the founder and CEO of Dropbox. One of the students asked Drew, how come you went from being a student to becoming such an amazing CEO, running a company with over 1,000 people and $1 billion in revenue? And Drew said, I read a lot. I don't spend $1,000 on consultants or hire experts, but instead, I read the best books I can find on marketing, on sales, on hiring, on whatever I'm trying to learn how to do. Drew is not alone. Many very successful entrepreneurs, you know, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, they are all voracious readers. So every year, ask around what 12 books you should be reading and taking it upon yourself to read them. Now, in conclusion, here I am, a woman from Spain, a math kid turned quilter, a chip designer turned venture capitalist, deeply honored again to be here, your commencement speaker. I'm looking at your potential, and I'm just in awe imagining what each of you will become, what you will do as you're stepping out of here into the wild adventure of the real world. You may be a bit scared of what is out there, and it's okay to feel that way, but have confidence in you. The world is changed by people like you, courageous, brave, somewhat foolish, people that can dream beyond any of us. So dream, don't wait. Go out there and peel off all your labels, try new things out, own your failures, be humble, be kind, and more importantly, keep your young spirit of the class of 2018 today alive. Congratulations, class of 2018.